Hello, everybody. Welcome into Perspectives in this Christmas season. We're glad you're with us today. We're going to go back in time a little bit, delve into the archives and pull up a recording with Shirley Jones that was actually recorded in 2011. She's an Academy Award winner, and she got that Academy Award as Best Supporting Actress when she played in Elmer Gantry. She went on to play the mother of the Partridge Family, a widowed mother, and she also had the lead in Oklahoma, and she covered a lot of ground over the years, and I found her to be a really intriguing actress. Here now is Shirley Jones. Although she was not born in the state, our guest today will always be an Oklahoman in spirit, thanks to her portrayal of Laurey in the musical Oklahoma. No introduction can do her justice, so I'll do one anyway. Singer, star of stage, screen, and television, Shirley Jones.
Hello, Sam.
What a pleasure it is to sit with you.
Thank you.
This
My
is
pleasure.
really an honor.
And we're both named Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps it all in the family here. Let's go back to Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. How it started about age 6. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, I was born singing. It was a gift that was given to me. And, you know, I just would get up in the morning and sing, and I assumed that everybody could do that. You know, it was so easy for me. And I was the youngest member of the church choir at age 6, and started actual formal study when I was 12 in Pittsburgh. I lived about 30 miles south of Pittsburgh in a little town called Smithton, PA. And we would drive, my father would drive me to Pittsburgh once a week for a voice lesson. And
well, straighten me out. I'm a little confused about the family, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I'm easily confused. Was your mother a strict,
excuse me,
strict disciplinarian?
Yeah, she was a tough lady. She was a tough lady, but I was a real bad kid.
No, come on.
Oh, yes, I was. I was an only child, and you know, so what my mother did was she was right in doing so, because I was tough. I was a kid that thought that I knew everything and wanted to do everything, wanted to experience everything. So, but I had great parents. They were both wonderful.
Now, they owned a brewery?
My grandfather came over from Wales when he was about 4 years old, mm-hmm. and arrived in this little town of Smithton, PA, and worked in the coal mine, as everybody did then, and then built the brewery. And you know, every member of Smithton worked in the brewery. It was 800 residents, and it was a Jones Brewing Company, and we had a beer called Stoney's Beer. And my grandmother had 8 children, four boys and four girls, and my father was the youngest of the boys, and all the boys worked the brewery. So that was our business, and you know, it was a great business for a long time.
Was your father in theater?
No, nobody was.
I read somewhere that you worked with your father in a theater production at one point, or at one time.
No, not my father.
Not your dad?
No, nobody in my family was in the business.
Camp counselors encouraged you to
Yes,
go for...
I went to, you know, I had done the public school stuff, you know, mm-hmm. little things here and there. And you know, when I was in high school, but this was before high school. This was like when I was 12 or 13, and I went to the girls' camp. And when I came home, my counselor called my mother and said, you know, I don't know whether you know what you have here, but she's an incredible singer, and I think you should start voice lessons for her. She's really, you know, and that's all I did at camp. I would sing around the campfire, I would sing at the drop of a hat. Anybody said, you know, I want to sing a song, I'd get up and do it, you know. I mean, it was just that easy for me. So my mother then, that really kind of made her aware that maybe I did have something special, because in the Jones family, it was just, well, Shirley sings. She'll get up and sing a song, you know, but that was it. And so then that's when I started formal study in Pittsburgh with a man by the name of Ralph Luando, and he was the music critic for the Pittsburgh Press. Mm-hmm. And he was married to an opera singer. And I started study with him. And of course he said, you have an opera voice. I was a coloratura soprano. And he wanted me to go into opera. And I studied some different arias and things like that. And then he entered me in the Miss Pittsburgh contest. Which you won. Which I won, singing an aria. And went on for Miss Pennsylvania and came in second, so I never got to Miss America. But but I decided I didn't want to be an opera singer. I mean, that was just too difficult for me. I wanted to be, at that moment in my life, I was eager to become a veterinarian. That's what I really wanted to do with my life.
Well, it's my understanding now, when you went to New York, you gave yourself a year, and if it didn't pan out, if you didn't get called on, then you were signed, you were going to go back and start working on your degree in veterinary medicine.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right, exactly. But, I got my first job just with my very first audition in New York.
Well, I want to ask you about that, because as I understand, you went in to audition, and the folks holding the audition were so struck by what they heard and what they saw that one of them ran across the street, got somebody, and can you go into that story for us?
Yes, this was an open audition. I was just there on a holiday with my parents, and I had, during my high school years, I had studied at a place called the Pittsburgh Playhouse, which was a wonderful proving ground for young talent that wanted to come in. I mean, I studied acting, I studied dancing, and singing, of course. And they had little theaters, and I would perform in the little theaters. But this was just during the summers when I was in high school. And so after that, I still was not sure what I wanted to do, but I was entered in college. And this was July, I was going to college in the fall, and my parents took me to New York. And I knew this pianist that I'd worked with at the Pittsburgh Playhouse, and I called him. He said, come on up, we'll sing a couple of songs. So I did that. And he said, listen, Rodgers and Hammerstein's casting director is having open auditions today for anybody who wants to come and sing for him. They had about 3 or 4 shows running on Broadway at that time, and their shows ran so long, they had to keep replacing chorus people all the time, So they would have open auditions. And I'd never been to a real audition of any kind, I really was very green, and I was barely 18.
Nervous?
And
at all?
I was nervous, but to tell you the truth, I wasn't educated enough to be nervous. I didn't know what it was going to be, But yeah, I was nervous, but I knew that I could sing, and so that didn't bother me. So I said, okay. So I went to the audition, waited around the block with everybody else with music in hand. Got to the stage, and I sang for the casting director, and he said the usual, Miss Jones, what have you done? And I said, nothing, which was the truth. And he said, well, Mr. Rodgers just happens to be across the street. See, this was a happening, a real happening.
It's unfolding in real time, as they say.
Incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that you can't believe would ever happen again. He happens to be across the street rehearsing his orchestra for Oklahoma, which was about to open at City Center, another production, and then go out on a tour. And he said, I would like to have him hear you personally. Now, I didn't even know who Richard Rodgers was at this point. I mean, of course, I'd heard about him, but I was not familiar with it. And I said, well, I guess so. So I waited, and 10 minutes later, down the aisle comes this gentleman, and he said, Miss Jones? And I said, yes. What'd you say your name was again? He said, Richard Rodgers. Never to forget that moment. True. And he said, so I sang for him, and he said, the usual, what have you done? I said, I nothing, I'm on my way to college, And he said, well, could you wait about 20 minutes? I'm going to call my partner, Oscar Hammerstein, at home and have him come and hear you. And they canceled the rest of the auditions for the day. Now, my pianist, it was a holiday weekend of some kind, and he said, Shirley, I hate to do this to you, but I have an airplane to catch. And he said, I can't wait. And Roger said, never mind, we'll think of something. He left. I'm standing there waiting with Richard Rodgers. 20 minutes later, down the aisle comes this very tall gentleman, and he said, Miss Jones, do you know the score of Oklahoma? And I said, well, I think I might know some of the music, but I don't know the lyrics. And of course, I'm talking to the lyricist, you understand. He said, never mind, I happen to have a score here. I said, but Mr. Hammerstein, I don't have a pianist. He had to leave. I've nobody to play. And Richard Rodgers said, we have the full City Center Symphony across the street. Now, I'd never seen a symphony, heard a symphony, let alone sing with one. My first audition anywhere, anytime, anyplace. They took me across the street, and I don't read music. Didn't then, I still don't, okay? They handed me the score, and I said to the orchestra, could you play these 3 songs for me so I can hear them? Fortunately, I have a good ear. They did that, and I stood with the score in front of my face, and I sang Oklahoma, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, and people will say we're in love with the City Center Symphony.
Incredible.
And I never got to college. I never got to become a veterinarian.
And never had to look back.
No, it's amazing. I mean, it's a story that, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure could happen today. But it happened to me.
You ended up in very tall cotton on your first call.
Oh, my dear.
And that continued.
Yes, it did.
Because you made friends and walked with the giants of the industry over the years. And left a trail of broken hearts, I got to tell you, everywhere you went. You got an Academy Award for Elmer Gantry. And I remember as I watched you deliver the lines in that part.
I loved the role, yeah.
Thinking, she really is living that part.
Yeah.
It was a living, breathing character to you that you just put on, buttoned up, and wore.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank you.
like a coat.
It was wonderful. I mean, but I had a wonderful, wonderful director in Richard Brooks, and the writing was superb. You know, he wrote the script as well. And Bert was my mentor. Bert's the reason I got that job, because Richard Brooks didn't want me. He wanted Piper Laurey for the part.
Really?
Yes, and I was up in San Francisco doing a nightclub act with my husband, then husband Jack Cassidy. You know, because my career was, I have to say, virtually over. I had done Oklahoma, I had done Carousel, and I had done April Love with Pat Boone, but the musicals were finished. You know, they just didn't do very well in the European market. So they were finished, and when you were a singer at that time, they didn't think of you as an actress. You know, why, I don't know, but they didn't. So I had to go, I went into television, and at that time, you know, to do television for a movie actor was a big step down. But they were doing these wonderful dramatic shows like Playhouse 90 and Lux Video Theater. And
so many of those have been lost
I
over
know,
the years, and
I
that's
know.
a tragedy.
Oh, it's a tragedy. So I went and I did a Playhouse 90 with Red Skelton called The Big Slide, about an alcoholic sunshine girl in the Max Sennett era. And Bert saw that production, and he's the one that called me in San Francisco. I was doing a nightclub act with Jack Cassidy, my husband, and he called me and he said, "Hello, is this Shirley Jones?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "This is Burt Lancaster." I said, "Sure it is," and I hung up, which I did.
That's incredible.
Fortunately, he called back, and he said, "No, this is Burt Lancaster." He said, "Go get the Sinclair Lewis novel of Elmer Gantry and read it, and The Role of Lulu Baines." He said, "I want you to fly in on your day off and meet with Richard Brooks." He said, "I think you'd be wonderful in this part," which was really unusual because, you know, that part was so unlike what people thought I was. But had it not been for Bert, and he had seen that television play, never would have happened. And it still would have happened. When I went in to meet with Brooks, he still didn't want me, even though I met with him.
I didn't know that.
No, he didn't. But see, Bert was co-producing as well, so
he held out.
He won out. And the very first day of shooting that I had was the hardest scene I had to do in the film, which was the scene in the House of Prostitution, where I tell everybody how I met Elmer Gantry. And he gave me no direction whatsoever. He sat in his chair, smoked his pipe, and didn't speak to me. And I thought, well, it's over. You know, he's gonna fire me, and that's what he's wanted to do anyway. And he was a very strong guy, very strong-willed, you know. And so I went home that night, and I was in tears, and I said, it's finished. He's going to, you know, fire me. Well, I didn't have to shoot the next day, and he got to see the, you know, what we call the takes that I had done the day before, the rushes. And the next evening, he called me, and he said, "Shirley, this is Richard Brooks," and he said, "I owe you an apology." He said, "Not only are you going to be great in this film, but I predict you're going to win an Academy Award." From then on, he was my director.
If you look at your career, there are road maps here that just kind of interconnect. You worked with with David Cassidy when you
my
did
stepson.
It was what, the Brady?
No, Partridge Family.
Partridge Family.
Partridge
Then you became a mother with a different son, a mother-son hit on Broadway, and you were the first mother-son combo to do that.
My son Patrick, 42nd Street.
And then you became the first mother and son to have hit records at virtually the same time. And I mean,
yes.
were the stars looking out for you or what?
Isn't it the truth? Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, of course, David, you know, the funny part about David and I being in the series, I was the first person cast as Mrs. Partridge, you know, and I was, you know, at that time, again, everybody said, Shirley, don't do a television series, because if it is successful, you'll be that character for the rest of your life and your movie career will be finished.
In the toilet.
In the toilet,
Yeah.
exactly right, which is true, you know, that's what happens. But it was a perfect time for me, because I had my sons were school age, and I had to stay home and raise my kids. They'd been all over the world on movie locations. And so I thought, wow, this would be a great thing for me to do. And I was the first working mother on television, which was great, you know. And then, as I said, I was the first person cast, and they came to me and they said, Shirley, how do you feel about your stepson, David Cassidy? I said, why? And they said, well, we're thinking of him to play Keith Partridge. I said, that'd be great. And they said, well, we want to make sure that you have a good relationship with him, because we don't want any. I said, no. I said, he's very talented and it would be great. But they didn't tell him that I was playing Ma Partridge. And he was on the set, and I had to go and kind of read with all the other little kids that they were auditioning with. And I arrived on the set, and he was standing there, and he looked at me and he said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm your mama.
And he didn't know.
No.
Florence Henderson owes you a debt, I suspect. You turned down
Brady Bunch.
the Brady Bunch. She got the part.
I know.
And you guys are friends now, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
Still.
Yes, oh yes.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
things, they say, happen for a
Happened
reason.
for a reason, exactly
Pretty
right.
incredible. You did a show, There Were Times, Dear.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of folk today say that's the best work you ever did.
Really.
The love and the compassion that a wife loyal to a husband
With
who's
Alzheimer's.
dying with Alzheimer's demonstrated on screen, and it touched something in a lot of people. Do you hear much about
It was
that?
a wonderful script. Yes, I do. I had an Emmy nomination for that. And I was thrilled to be doing it. It was just, Nancy Malone was the writer, producer of that. She was an actress, and then she became a producer. And her mother had died with Alzheimer's, and she called me. We were friends. I had done another film that television film that she was a part of, and she called me and she said, Shirley, this is part favor, part, you know, but she said, it's a wonderful part. And she said, read the script, and she said, you know, the money's going to the Alzheimer's Association, and I would love to have you play the part. Well, I read the script, and I said, of course, I'd love to do it. You know, it's wonderful, wonderful part, wonderful script. And I was thrilled to be a part of it, you know, and we had such a good time. You know, I really loved doing it.
Well, boy, it sure touched a lot of people, and a lot, you know, and that's a disease that's one of those insidious things that's
It's
out
rampant
there
now.
everywhere. Where do you keep the Oscar?
I keep it in my living room on a pedestal.
Justifiably.
Right there.
I was thinking about that the other day. I had somebody say somebody asked them, where do you keep your Oscar? And they said, oh, it's on a shelf. And I thought, no, if I had an Oscar,
Yeah.
it's not going to be on a shelf. They said a shelf in the closet.
Yeah,
I'm
oh
saying,
yeah,
no,
right.
no, it's going to be out where you can see
No,
it.
it's right there. As you come in the front door, you see it.
Your dad died of lung cancer fairly early in your
49,
career. Your mother lived until when?
68.
She had a chance to witness her child break into the business, develop. Was she an encouraging mother along the way? And if so, did she live through the times that you saw you grab the glory?
Well, neither one of them, she wasn't alive when I got the Academy Award, but both of them were alive when I did the musicals, you know, when I did Oklahoma, when I got that part, when I did Carousel. They were both still alive then. But my father then died sort of right after that, right after, at least he got to see a baby boy. He wanted a boy all his life, and I had my first son. And then she lived to be 68, but after my father died, I have to be honest, my mother went downhill. She started to drink, became very alcoholic, and died of kidney failure. So, and she married again and lived in Florida, and I didn't get to see much of her after that. You know, I would go and visit her, of course, but she just became another person, you know, which was really too bad.
You're at a point in your career when, if it were me, I'd be sitting on a boat somewhere. You've got all the awards, all the accolades.
Yet you've got what, 2 movies coming out? Mm-hmm. You still record.
Yes.
You do concerts. You travel. You don't show any signs of slowing down. And is there a magic bullet?
I don't know. You know, my voice isn't as strong as it once was. Nowadays I do one really great concert, and maybe the next night, it'll be a little weaker and stuff like that. So that I have to work on, and I just pray that my voice holds out, because I still love to sing, and it was something that the good Lord gave me, and I'd like to continue doing that. And the other thing is that I wouldn't know what I'd do. I'm still very active in my brain and active in my body, and
which is 99% of it.
Exactly, and I just couldn't sit around and sleep all day or read or watch television. So I don't know what else I would do, unless I could go and work for a veterinarian and work with animals. That would be a thing I would love to do.
When you guys first started working on that wonderful film, Oklahoma, you'd not been to Claremore.
No.
And you finally, what was it, the conclusion when you had the wrap? Didn't you all come?
Yes, we did.
To see Claremore, Oklahoma?
To see Claremore, Oklahoma. Uh-huh.
And your impressions were?
Yeah, exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was wonderful. Just wonderful.
Throughout all you've done, is there one that stands out, one favorite?
Film, you mean?
Yeah, or Broadway production, or anything that you can say,
Well,
that was my favorite?
I can't say that there was one, because each one had I had a different feeling for and about. Obviously Gantry was a major step for me, because it gave me the longevity that I've had in my career. Had I not had that role, and certainly had I not won the award, I don't think I would have had the career that I've had. So I have to say that was obviously a right thing for me to do. But again, the musicals. Carousel to me is the most beautiful music ever written, and I love singing the score of Carousel. I open my concert with "If I Loved You" and close with "You Never Walk Alone." And the experience of doing Oklahoma in Nogales, Arizona, which was very strange. They planted the cornfield, they built the house. Everything, they did the whole set right there.
It's a magic of motion pictures.
Yeah, it really is, And it was 9 months shooting in Nogales, Arizona, 7 days a week, 14-hour days. That was before, the unions came in and said, you can't work actors that long,
Yeah.
But that was the time. And after I finished that, I thought, do I really want to be in show business? This is hard.
Okay, if you haven't, you're not in a position then to name a favorite. If you could go back and say, you know what, I should have done that, or I should have done that, or maybe I made a wrong choice here, what could you go back and change if given the opportunity?
I don't think that there'd be anything that I would change, because I was given the opportunity. I did a film called The Cheyenne Social Club with Jimmy Stewart and Henry Fonda. I loved that
Great
movie.
film.
I played a madam in that, And
I think God's trying to tell you
very
something.
Funny. I think so. But that was, and it was a comedy. It was very funny. Henry Fonda was hysterical in that. And I had such a good time. I've had the experience of working with incredible actors. Jimmy Cagney I did a film with. It wasn't a very good movie, but I did a film with him. Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra. You name it. And I worked with Charlton Heston, whom I adored, by the way. And so I've had all those incredible actors to work with, and most of the things that I did with them they may not have been Academy Award winning movies, but they were wonderful experiences.
I have read about you that regardless of the part, you gave as much to the part that you worked as you did with Elmer Gantry.
Yes, I did.
That you always, and apparently Bert was responsible for instilling that in you.
Absolutely.
Causing you to take on that level of professionalism.
That's right. Yeah, because that's the way he was, definitely the way he was. Now, I worked with other actors who weren't that way, but Jimmy Stewart was that way. Jimmy Stewart was incredible to work with, just incredible to work with. Glenn Ford was wonderful to work with. He had that kind of passion for the part and the work, Marlon Brando, not so much.
I'll be in Tahiti.
Exactly.
Ms. Jones, we're out of time. Thank
Okay.
you. This has been a treat for me and
Thank
for
you.
everybody in the studio. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. You're marvelous.
Oh, you're sweet.
And that was our interview with Shirley Jones, Academy Award winner. Thank you for being a part of it. Have a wonderful Christmas. and we'll see you back here next time.